It's amazing that somebody's. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's good. Oh, it is? All right. It was a wonderful firework.
Judge and the Chief, you ready? Judge Rollins and the Chief, you ready? Come on. It's 6 o'clock. Here comes the judge. We can't move until you move. He does. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council and call to order the City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is Tuesday, July the 5th, 2022. Our invocation will be done by Executive Pastor David White of First Baptist Church of Douglasville. Thank you so much. You can come forward. And after the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you that you are our Creator and Redeemer, the God who is always there. And Lord, I pray that you would cover us with your peace and with clarity as we discuss matters for our community. We ask, Lord, that you would give us honesty, give us patience as we work through some of the different matters here. Father, we thank you so much for all those who serve, from the mayor's office, the city council, all of our elected officials, for our first responders. Lord, we thank you so much for those who have stepped forward. And Lord, we pray that you would just keep us open, ready us for this moment. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This to the flag of the United States of America, for the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. And Pastor White, we appreciate the invocation. Please tell Senior Pastor we said hello. It's good to see you. Yes, sir. I'd like to welcome you to the Douglasville City Council. This is our voting meeting. It's going to be a little bit different than our meeting on how it was held this past Thursday. And typically we meet on Mondays, but of course we had the 4th of July yesterday, which was a holiday. And so now we're meeting today on Tuesday. We had a wonderful 4th of July, and as the pastor left and we conclude this meeting, we'll ask that you would be in prayer for the people in Akron, Ohio, and the things that are going on there. But I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's regular voting meeting. This is a City Council regular meeting of agenda items where official action will be taken tonight on the items that were discussed last Thursday at our legislative work session. If the business you are here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item, comments from citizens and delegates, a section for you to discuss your business. Just a few protocol issues we'd like to go over, and then we'll jump right into the meeting. I ask that you'll please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts. We're only required to accept comments that are zoning matters, but you can come at the end and give us comments from citizens and delegates. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react in the audience to the speaker or carry on conversations while someone's at the podium that would be disruptive. I'll remind you again that we're only required to accept public comments on zoning matters. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, please put those in silent mode so they won't be disruptive during the meeting. Let me do it myself. And unless it's Jesus calling, there we go. And you put those in silent mode so they will not be disruptive. Agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item. Then that person or applicant will come forward and present their information, and we'll ask that you will not repeat the same information that you presented on Thursday, just new information to help us deliberate and make our decisions, as this is, again, a voting meeting. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum of 20 minutes for those in favor of an item and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. When you come forward, please give us your name and address for the record. There are cards that you would fill out if you would like to speak, and those cards are on the desk outside, and ask that you fill those cards out, give it to the city clerk, and then come forward. Each person has one opportunity to speak, and this is not a question and answer format or debate. We're just here, again, to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions. Please address all your comments to the chair, and if you have any printed material, we ask that you would give that to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. She will be so kind as to make copies and distribute that information to myself and council members. Now we will get into the meeting, and this is going to go pretty fast. It's different from the work session, as we will not have a lot of discussion unless you have some new information to bring forward. There are agendas that are printed on the table outside, or you can follow us along with us on the screen. We'll move on then to the approval of the minutes, and I will open the floor to adopt the regular meeting agenda for July 5th, 2022. Open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes. Wait a minute, there's something else on here. This is different from adopt to regular meeting agenda for July 5th, 2022. Approval of the agenda.
Yes, we're approving the agenda first.
Thank you so much. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second, please? Second. Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to adopt the regular meeting agenda for July 5th, 2022. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Now we'll move on to the minutes. The minutes of the June 16th, 2022 committee meetings, executive session, special meeting, and legislative work session, and the minutes of June 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilman Adams. Motion, is there a second? Was that you, Councilman Estes? Okay, second. But Councilman Estes, it's been properly moved in second to approve the minutes as presented. Do we see any corrections or any concerns as relates to
I
them?
don't think we had a second.
Councilman Adams was the first, you were the second.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. Did you get that, Ms. Acker? You second that motion? They did it, so you figured it out? Okay, good. Any corrections outside of that? Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we see any corrections or any concerns as relates to the consent agenda for the elected body? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now we'll move on to committees. The Economic Development Committee is chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Finance Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business tonight under Finance.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business tonight under Housing and Community Affairs.
Thank you so much, sir. Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, Councilman Davis isn't here. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Burt Danley, so we'll ask Mayor Pro Tem if you please take that committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business tonight under the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee.
A mouthful. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in personnel and organization.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll move on then to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have two items.
Yes, sir.
Item A, consider a request for plat approval for the purpose of combining Ashley Falls Units 3 and 4 for 29.35 acres at Deering Court and Paradise Drive, land lot 194, District 2, Section 5, parcels 248 and 48. Parcel numbers 01940250248 and 01940250048. Application by HRC, care of Julie Good and Aaron McCullough. Ms. Shayla Reed is going to help us with that. Ms. Reed?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Thank you. Shayla Reed, Community Development Director at 6701 Church Street. There are no additional informations added to this item.
Okay, and we had everything that we needed in order to make a decision on Thursday night, and no
Yes.
new information has been provided, no questions. Okay, we'll ask if the mayor or council has any additional questions or comments concerning this item.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reed. Seeing none, we'll make a motion to approve item 22-203.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, quickly. Do you want to add the conditions
Did we say
from
them
the
on,
fire department?
you said them on Thursday? You want to make certain that they are for the record?
I'm sorry, do I need to include in the,
Just mention that it recommend either approval or denial if approval is with a motion of conditions added, stated by.
so then I can rephrase my motion to approve with conditions added according to the fire marshal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you so much. Ms. Reed, don't walk away. Could you please read the conditions? Just so that we'll reiterate those conditions and they are heard by everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So there are three conditions that the fire marshal mentioned: enhance the turn-in radii to meet local responding fire department requirements, increase road widths to meet the local responding fire department requirements, and then lastly, install fire lane signs per section D 103.6 of the 2021 International Fire Code in the locations determined by the local fire code official. And those locations were determined by the fire marshal as noted in the site plan that you have before you.
And if I'm not mistaken, though, all of those conditions are reflected on the final plat
That is
that we would be approving and the mayor would be signing.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
They're already shown on the plat.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Chairman, there have to be delineated out because there is only one entranceway in and one out, correct?
That's correct. Officially, the state requires there to be two entrances for homes over 120. This particular location did not have the ability to do that, so the fire marshal worked directly with the developer to find additional remedies.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion by the chair with the stipulations as read by our Economic Development, Community Development Director. There have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 22-203 with the conditions that were already previously read. Do we have any additional comments or questions as it relates to this item? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 22-203 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
We'll move
welcome.
on to item B. Authorize the city to accept right-of-way deeds from Lennar, Georgia LLC, granting to the city the right-of-way of Presley Mill Road and Timber Ridge Drive adjacent to tax parcel 00540150002. It doesn't look like Mr. Thompson. It looks like Ms. Shayla Reed's going to handle that for us also.
Yes, sir. There were no additional information or additions for this item as well.
Okay. You all have seen the plat, the amount of right-of-way that was being dedicated or given to the city. Are there any additional questions or comments? Madam Mayor, Council?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none, then we make a motion to approve item 22-215.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. It's been properly moved by the chair, Councilman Adams, and second by Councilmember Watts to approve item 22-215. Do we have any additional comments or questions as relates to this item from the council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 22-215 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we have tonight under Planning and Development.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to item number 13, which is Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening for public improvement and beautification.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Miller in. We'll move on then to Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The PR Committee has no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. And we move on to Public Safety Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under public safety.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on then to Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under recreation, culture, and tourism.
I know that's a lot, too. Thank you, sir. Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. Transportation Committee, the Vice Chair is Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's also no business under the Transportation Committee at this time.
All righty. We'll move on then to other business. Is there any other business to come before committees tonight or council?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a comment if
Yes,
it's
sir.
okay. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank staff, PD, everyone involved in yesterday's activities, beginning with the parade and the fireworks last night, everything going on yesterday at Hunter Park. It seemed like a really, really good turnout, and a great time was had by all, and I just appreciate all that the staff did to make us safe and pull all of that off.
Yes, sir. It
Chris,
was wonderful.
Bass and your staff and Chief, everything that you all did. Of course, those in the Parks and Rec and also the community development, I'm sure had a lot to do with it. Everyone, it was just a great day. I really enjoyed it. It's a long day, but it was lots of fun.
It was long.
Lots of
I'm
fun.
telling you, that heat. Woo. It was nice, though. Yes, sir.
We
Councilman
appreciate it
Watts.
so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Watts?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without Councilman Davis being here, I wish he was, because, you know, he's been named the Georgia Municipal Association District 3 President, so I just wanted to recognize him for that. I guess it's the next time we have a meeting
Yes, sir.
that'll come up, but that's pretty cool.
It is. It's a blessing. So we have our voice right from the council that can get to the district and talk to us for GMA. And our city manager is on the GMA board as well, helping with insurance, and the president of City County Managers Association. So we are well represented. And I'm happy to roll off, I shouldn't say happy, for the training board, for that 5 years I served on training board. That was, it was a lot, so I'm happy to roll off of that as well. But yes, sir, we will definitely recognize Councilmember Davis when he comes back. Any other comments from council? All righty. So we'll move on to updates from our city staff, our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Attorney Dotson. Staff Attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan. Good evening. Thank you. Ms. Jordan ran the Peachtree yesterday. How many years in a row? Well, I say ran walk, but, you know. How many years in a row have you done that? 11. That is wonderful. Coach Watts, how many have you?
In a row?
Yes.
37.
Get out of town.
37. I've done 38.
Are you serious?
First one I did, you signed up for the race in the parking lot over at Lennox. That was in 78.
Better stop playing.
The roads weren't even paved back then, right?
Nuh-uh, don't start. Congratulations. I did not know you did that many times. That's wonderful. I don't know what no, Chief, I'm looking at you. What you got?
I walked the city of Douglasville parade
I
for the
know
last
that's right.
15 years. But you know what? I got my little Fitbit, and it said I walked like 2.5 miles because I'm
Okay.
going back and forth handing out candy.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's a chore.
It is.
Them little kids, you know, you like, I want to keep going, you know, like, oh, Lord, I got to catch up. But I've been doing it for a long time.
Yes, sir.
I know it.
You were also dragging the sheriff with you, I noticed.
I know it, yeah. See, he didn't have the candy going from side to side. He like going straight up the street.
Well, thank you all so much. Congratulations on the peach tree. That's wonderful. And for you, Chief Watkins. So now we'll come to Chief Police, Chief Sparks.
Oh, I don't have anything. I'm good.
You don't have any meetings coming up? I can't believe it.
Well, right now, once we get finished with this, we started a basketball league with the
Okay.
young people, and tonight, my team, the Heat, they're missing their coach.
What? Uh-oh.
Yeah,
So you saying hurry
I
up,
got
right?
I got a stand-in coach, but they better win because that stand-in coach, we might put him on walking beat.
Well, all right now.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
But
messing around with you.
we're gonna have a grand finale, and when we have it, we'd like to have all of you all to come. We're gonna really blow it out, and so next year we'll get bigger and better with the kids, and in conjunction with the park. So we really thank Chris for helping us put all this thing together, and it's going great.
Very good. Is it outside or inside?
No, we're in the gym.
Okay, I was getting ready to say. Whew.
Yeah, we're in Harto. Yeah, we couldn't do it outside.
Very good. Now, what about Youth Against Violence?
Every Saturday from 10 to 2. So we got about 4 more weeks, I think, before graduation. And then we have the Foundational Transformation of Men program on Monday nights. But the judge helping us put that together. So we got the Foundational Transformation of Men. So we're coming with the transformation of women. So we got to do the women thing. So we're looking for some of you all to come and help.
All right.
Yeah. So we got some young ladies in the Youth Against Violence program that they looking for some directions. So we'll start that women program. I'm not gonna have enough day. I gotta find me some time, but we'll fix it out some way.
Yes, sir. And this part of the community policing that
Yes,
you do,
ma'am.
that's all encompassing outside of, law enforcement, but just having preventative
Yes, ma'am.
programs to help us and help the community meet all the needs so that we won't get into a situation like some places in the country.
Yes.
And so we
yes,
continue to
ma'am.
pray for people in Akron and all over. So thank you, Chief, for everything that you do. We appreciate you. We'll move on then to our city manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. So you all noticed a new item on the agenda. That's the approving of the agenda. Per our Madam Clerk, who was in training in Savannah with GMA, learned that we should have been doing this a long time ago, all along. So you will start seeing that from this point moving forward. So you can confer with your legal staff as to the reason why we're doing it, but you will start seeing it on your agenda. The other item is we have our last of our special purpose local option sales tax community meetings, and that's in Ward 1. Mayor Pro Tem will be at Arbor Station. So far, I think there's a running bet between our elected officials on which district receives the most attendees so far. Ward 5 is
Tributary.
winning, just saying. But it could be that all of the other constituents already know what's going on, so they didn't necessarily have to. It could be.
It could be.
But we will be there, and so far, all of the comments have been very positive. We've continued to advocate. There are various ways that individuals can provide comment that's either online, they can call us up individual, they can come to a community meeting. But once we wrap up that last meeting, we'll compile that in one final report. We'll hand that to you all as well as provide that information to Douglas County to move forward. And then the last thing is, a special person has a birthday tomorrow. Your chief of police. Happy birthday, Chief.
Chief, stop. It's your birthday.
Oh, yeah, right. I sure do. You know what? Everybody's been calling me about different stuff. Like somebody called me today, like, congratulations on, congratulations mean for what? You know how long I've been working here?
How long, Chief?
Long time, 35 years.
35 years.
35 years.
I know.
Yo, I started working when you started running the Peachtree.
I know, 35 years. Congratulations, Chief.
No, but thank you, yeah.
That's a blessing, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
You want to sing happy birthday?
We will do something and make certain
Oh, my God.
We had something
Y'all don't surprise me.
Yeah, that's
But I know, that's a blessing. But I think Attorney Dawson has the record, though. How long have you been the city attorney?
1982.
1982. I'm trying to think of what I was doing in 1980. Oh, that's a long time. Thank you. I know it.
I realize most of
We were born, 82. Wow, so that's a
my
blessing
God.
to have this continuity, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that.
Madam Mayor, question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Would there be food served at some of these ward
Man, I'm
meetings? Would that
still mean.
possibly have something to do with attendance?
We're thinking that we're having them early enough that we can send individuals home for dinner.
I'm just wondering if that's the reason they're so well attended, was my question.
Oh, I'm not certain.
No, we did not have food in Ward 5.
But I will point out that Ward 5's meeting was within walking distance of most of the residents down there because it was right there. So,
It's such
Yeah.
a small ward.
And whose problem is that?
Shade.
Ooh, how
Oh
many
my-
people came to your ward meeting?
Uh-oh. Okay, look. Okay, where the gavel? Click, 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 click.
Separate them, Madam Mayor.
I know it. I know it.
Madam Mayor, you better bang that gavel. We're gonna be in
Much. I
trouble
know.
here in a
I'm
minute.
like, too much going on. I know. Okay, well, we will, anything else? All in good fun, all in good fun. All right, that's all you have, City Manager? Okay. So now we do have a special announcement and presentation. We have a presentation of a proclamation by myself to Attorney Tremelle Howard and Mr. Minister George Fishburne honoring their daughter, Mikayla Courtney Fishburne, through the Mikayla Cares Foundation, MCF, which was established to promote water safety for children. I will read the proclamation, and then I'll ask Mr. and Mrs. Fishburne to come forward and receive the proclamations. And this is near and dear to my heart because I know both of the Fishburnes very well. And Attorney Tremelle is a great friend, and I'm sorry I missed your book signing. We were in GMA in Savannah, but I am going to purchase a book. So I'll read the proclamation, and we'll ask that you would come forward, and then we'll take a picture with your support group. In honor of Mikayla Fishburne and Mikayla Cares Foundation, whereas Mikayla Courtney Fishburne was a bubbly and inquisitive 4-year-old who loved making many friends at church and in her neighborhood, visiting her grandparents in Philadelphia and Miami. And whereas this year makes the 10th year anniversary of Mikayla's passing from an accident at a friend's pool, becoming one of the estimated 3,960 fatal unintentional drownings that occur every year. And whereas the Mikayla Cares Foundation has been established to honor Mikayla's memory, provide protective swim apparel and swim lessons to children, and award academic scholarships with an inaugural event on Sunday, June 25th. And whereas the ability to swim is a life skill that can sometimes be overlooked or delayed in the African American community, and the Mikayla Cares Foundation hopes to educate the community on the importance of water safety, including acknowledging the fact that drowning is the leading cause of death for children. Now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville, and on behalf of the Douglasville City Council and the citizens of the City of Douglasville, do hereby honor the life of Mikayla Fishburne and hope that the inaugural event for Mikayla's Cares Foundation is a success. So proclaimed this day, July 5th, 2022. So let's give them a hand, and then we'll ask Ms. Fishburne. Good to see you, Sir Tremelle. If you want to come forward and say some words, and Brother Fishburne, if you want to say anything, we appreciate you. You've turned your tragedy into triumph, and it's a blessing. I know you've been doing scholarships for a long time in the sorority and in the community to help with the memory of your daughter, and it is really life-changing to have swimming because it's something that, again, happens. It's not a good thing. So anyway, if you can go ahead and want to talk.
Good evening to Mayor Rochelle Robinson and to the City Council. Thank you for taking the opportunity out of your business meeting to honor our daughter. I see George right there. Mikayla was a resident of Douglas County, Georgia, and she attended the Chapel Hill Church School. And unfortunately, as Mayor Robinson said, she passed away on June 16, 2012. And so this is the 10th year. And we had an outstanding event here at the Conference Center on Saturday, the 25th, where more than 150 folks came out and celebrated her life. But mostly, another important thing is that we raise some money so that we are going to be able to give out what we're calling swim kits to children. So Mikayla had been out of school for about 3 weeks before the accident, and so we're hoping to be able to, like we do the sort of back to school, and we give out the book bags to kind of have those swim kits for children as they get out of school so that they can be prepared, because everyone has a good intention, and sometimes it doesn't get down on your list of the to-do list for, getting those life jackets and things like that when they're learning to swim. So we're hoping to be able to partner with Jesse Davis Park and Boundary Waters to be able to subsidize children being able to have swim lessons, because again, with the rising cost of just so many things in our community, we don't want learning how to swim to be an impediment to them being able to enjoy a pool, but also learning how to swim. So we really appreciate this acknowledgement, and we hope that the city of Douglasville will be a partner in helping us to bless the children in our community. George?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Mr. Fishburne?
The only thing I would add is that I think it would be appropriate if we could just give Tremelle a round of applause. She has been a whirlwind with respect to this whole idea of water safety. Could we do that for a moment, ma'am?
Yes.
I would simply add that we love Mikayla immensely, and so obviously there's been a void. If there's one takeaway that we can hang our hat on, is the whole notion that this effort that has been spearheaded by Tremelle and by the many supporters, that this effort potentially could save the life of another child. So we thank you. God bless you all, and continue to keep us in your prayers. And please, please, I've read mine halfway through. Pick up her book, please. Please buy
Yes,
her
I
book.
was going to talk about her
Please
book
buy
as
her
well.
book. It's definitely a good read, and it tells you in a very real sense what she experienced personally going through this ordeal and how God has brought her through. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Talk to us about your book. This is wonderful. I mean, just to, I think that's one of the parents, I don't know how you overcome. My mother-in-law lost her son, and so when he was younger. So it was something, she said she's 85, and she still thinks about Kelvin.
Absolutely.
So I know it's very something that's very difficult. I can't imagine. But swimming is a wonderful thing. I told, Joel was swim captain, the Douglas County swim team for 2 years. He swam for 4, but was captain for 2, and went to Georgia Southern and swam, and the girls swim. So I didn't swim that much until he had to be at the pool at Boundary Waters at 6:30 in the morning every day for the swim team. But I felt free like a fish. You feel free swimming. So I think it's a wonderful thing. The kits are such a great idea. So talk to us about your book and the title and some things about that.
Sure. The title of the book is Still Standing, Blessings, Burdens, and Brighter Days After the Loss of a Child. And it really is just my story about the impact of Mikayla's passing, but also the benefit of having faith in my life, and how without it, I would not have survived. And so it is really I hope it to be a blessing to many, not only of people who have lost children, but anyone who has, just had a loss that has been traumatic, because you just can't prepare for something like that. And I had a great number of supporters. My sorority, they were my right and my left arm, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I know some of them are here today. And then my new sisters of the Links Incorporated from the West Georgia chapter have just come alongside of me, and they didn't know Mikayla, but they hear all the stories, and so they are just embracing her memory as well. And so we're getting up a website, but I do have a Facebook page, Still Standing, A Journey of Faith, where you can find me. And again, I just hope it to be a blessing to those who are going through, because grief is different for everyone, and that there is no right or wrong way to experience it and to remember your loved ones. So thank you again for the opportunity, and God bless you.
Yes, ma'am. So we're going to come around and present the proclamation to you. If you need some legal services, that's the attorney with the Justice Department. You need somebody to lay hands and pray, there's a minister right there. Okay, so we'll come and give you the proclamation. Please come around, counsel.
two, three. Okay. Team support. Okay, I have to grab this. Gotta move this thing out of the way. Okay. Can we scoot in a little bit?
Y'all come on down.
Yeah. All right. All right. Here. One, two, three. Thank you.
It was necessary.
All righty. That was wonderful. Now we'll move on to the last item, almost next to the last, a staff report on the proposed revisions to the Unified Development Ordinance and the Alcohol Ordinance. So, City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll do a summary, and then there'll be a variety of staff members that are going to help us to talk about the Unified Development Ordinance, inclusive of your Chief of Police, your Community Development Director, Ms. Shayla Reed, and your Finance Director, Karen Callan. Some of these changes, as you recall, are brought upon by your recent application that you've tabled to your next round of meetings. So what we did was we tried to take a holistic look at the entire process, from the Unified Development Ordinance to the alcohol license applications, which are two separate and apart items. Legal has also reviewed, so Ms. Miranda Jordan will give her take on it as well. These are recommendations. So these are things that we propose that would help clean up the ordinance as it relates to particularly restaurants that are coming in that provide for hookah sales, cigar sales, and some other sales as well. Some of the language that you may see in the ordinance, it may not necessarily be familiar to you, but most, if not all, have been carried forward. The reasons we put these items in, one is to make certain that we are giving you an opportunity to review any of these types of restaurants that are coming in, so that you can have discretion over the ones that you may or may not feel have the best interest for the community, as the chief has mentioned, as it relates to public safety. The other is to allow for a punitive system for those that don't follow along with the ordinance. For instance, we're making some recommendations as right now. If someone violates your alcohol ordinance, it is you, the elected officials, who have the power to revoke that license. You may want to refer that to municipal court. I know our municipal court judge is here. We also have included an opportunity for fines. Years ago, we had an audit process where we would go in, measure alcohol items. Those things don't really work in today's world when it comes to when it comes to auditing restaurants. What we're recommending is that all restaurants have a point-of-sale system. If they have a point-of-sale system, they're currently required to provide to you monthly alcohol food sales. So that information will be reviewed by the finance department, and we make recommendations on whether or not we need to give them a warning. If they're repetitive, that individual can be cited. We can tell you right now that we've done an audit for this past month, and we actually have 2 restaurants that are in violation. We have sent those restaurants a notice that they're in violation, mainly saying, hey, look, maybe you don't know, maybe you were not aware, but we're giving you an opportunity to rectify your situation, and we're going to go back in and reevaluate next month. We're looking at a system where possibly we can give them 3 strikes, if you want to call it, and then from that standpoint, we provide that information either to you as the elected body, or that individual gets cited and they go to municipal court with the potential of a hefty fine or revocation. So to take it into 2 parts, into 2 series, to kind of walk through what we're looking at, I'm going to ask Shayla to go over the component that relates to the Unified Development Ordinance, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Karen Callan to come up to talk about the alcohol license, and then have Miranda cap it off with legally what we're looking at when it, as we look at codifying the system, as well as sending this information over either to you for a final decision if someone breaks the rules, or if you want to move toward a situation where they're going to municipal court. But Ms. Reed can start you off.
Okay, can I interject before you start? I
Yes,
apologize. Put a little pin. When I looked over the information before that was being considered, do we include vaping in that?
So can I explain that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it's in there, so give me.
Okay, I didn't.
So I'll go straight into that.
Okay.
So your code already identifies 3 different types of restaurants. Custom, fast food, and hookah and smoking. Those are 3 separate styles of restaurants. We are looking to or recommending to have the hookah and smoker component revised and give that a component of live entertainment. That would include DJing, that would include live bands, vocal and musical performances, but including and allowing for the hookah and smoking to continue. The smoking component would be to include the hookah, the vapor, the opportunity of cigar bars, if there would be to include, that will remain, because your current code allows for that already for restaurants. The code calls it restaurants with hookah and smoking included. That is a special use permit. We're asking for that to remain as a special use permit, so that when it comes about for there to be restaurants with live entertainment, it remains as a additional request to you as council to allow for them to come before you as an additional requirement. So if I can, your code identifies 3 provisions for hookah and smoking that are already currently in the code that we're looking to revise and then add 2 more. So if I could just kind of state those 5
Yes, ma'am.
conditions.
So vaping is included in smoke?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now I understand, because I just
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
see vaping and thought we missed.
But we'll be more specific inside of the code. If you deem this to be a necessary text amendment, we'll ensure that it's very clear in the text amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, and I apologize for interrupting.
No worries, thank you. Okay, so indoor smoking only, that is currently inside the code now. But we're asking for that to be remaining only for businesses that allow for the hookah and smoking operations, for their operations to only be indoor, to not allow for the patio operations. Operations allow for patrons of 21 and older, that would be new. And then another one that's already in the code would be a minimum of 2,500 square feet for customers. That is already in the code as well. And then in addition to that, of course, for operations past 11 p.m., we're looking to ask for a written security plan that would be approved by our police chief. They will work directly with the police chief to identify what that would mean for that written plan, whether that be, I think you were mentioning interior cameras, exterior cameras, et cetera, to allow for there to be more protection given to that business. And then in addition to that, the police chief would like for there to be an opportunity for our police department to have an opportunity to secure the outdoor parameters of a business, whether that be to stand at the front doors, whether that be to manage and operate over the parking area to ensure safety on the outside component of a structure. And then lastly, of course, ensuring that this business is meeting the building codes as it pertains to ventilation. So those are the 5 conditions that we will be asking upon the special land use provision for restaurants with live entertainment. So that would be the zoning component. I can pass it over to our finance director for the actual alcohol component recommendations.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So I just have 3 points for the finance section of the alcohol license ordinance update. And the first one is we'd like to add that in the event of an emergency, the city manager and the police or the chief or a designee of one of those may suspend any license for any of the restaurants in an emergency situation. So that's the first one. The second one, as Marcia mentioned earlier, we did have or 2 restaurants that did not report at least 51% of food. So in order to be a restaurant, you have to sell at least 51% of food. So we had 2 that violated that, and we looked through the ordinance, and we didn't have clear direction. So I feel like this first violation, second violation, and third violation, and we did discuss this with Chief Sparks as well, that allows us, you know, some guidance on what happens. So this past time, we sent a letter, and then we did send Chief a copy of it, and he said he would like us to make sure we add more concise verbiage in there that says, okay, this is exactly what happens if you violate again.
Okay.
So that's the second thing. And then we also, back to number 2, we do have a $1,000 fine if they violate the ordinance for the first violation. The second violation is a $2,000 fine or license revocation. And then the third is license revocation for an indefinite period of time. So that's number 2. And then number 3, just a simple, the current ordinance makes reference to the city clerk to be the one to audit and request documents of restaurants. And this just allows the city manager or their designee. So she can designate who she deems appropriate, which is both the finance department or someone in my department. So, but any questions on that section? Yes, ma'am.
I apologize.
And I apologize, I wasn't in the last discussion. What emergencies are you contemplating that would allow for an immediate seizure of the license by the manager or the chief?
Suspension of the license. I would say fights, murder, something, you know.
Yeah, or they come in and have girls dancing and, you know, have things out of the code section, or they continually get violated for selling alcohol to minors, or we going in there buying drugs, which we have brought drugs from a location here recently, and we currently in operations with several businesses. So, you know, doing things that violate the moral and turpitude of of the city, those things that can come into place. That's what you look at that.
Do you think that that would be something that would be better phrased as illegal activity? Or including but not limited to?
Well, we can talk and do a little more research. You may, from a due process point of view, what you may have to have is simply a emergency suspension of the license pending a determination by either the city council or the municipal court, wherever it goes. I'm not sure you can just suspend the license administratively without having a hearing of any kind.
I think.
It says that it's a temporary pause until the next scheduled council meeting. So it's just a hold until the decision's made by council.
I
But
think
they
we
need
did
to know what it
something like-
is, what they're violating. I guess that's what Attorney Dotson was getting to.
Yes, I think we'll have to spell out from a legal point of view exactly what constitutes an emergency. That can't be left with too much discretion for any individual.
Thank you, Attorney Dotson. Thank you, Attorney Dotson. I was going to ask what, and I should know, so I'm embarrassed, how much the alcohol permit, is it based on the size of the business, or because I'm trying to see the correlation for the fines. I know the chief and I talked about fines at one point. He had a number And this number is way lower than the number that he cited me.
Okay, so the alcohol license is $5,000 annually.
Mhm.
And that should, you know, alcohol, but if you get beer and wine, it's $500 in addition for each one.
Mhm.
So, and I think Chief, yeah, and so that was definitely, he made the recommendation of increasing our license fees.
Yes.
Higher, so.
Yes, and that's what we were talking about. I don't know if the city of Atlanta, but just looking at the metro area to see what the fees were for a permit to have an alcohol license.
Well, the state law sets a maximum license for hard liquor of $5,000.
Okay.
You could increase your license fees for beer and wine's sake.
Okay.
But I don't, many municipalities our size have fairly low license fees for beer and wine.
Okay. All right, Chief. All right, Chief, so we can't say the number that you and I talked about. You remember what it was?
We continue to violate, and those 5,000 the fines that we can levy. Because my thing is this. We're gonna start getting in some of these places. Gonna start coming out here to the city of Douglasville, just like they flooding in Southfield and Atlanta area. So they're gonna come out here. So we wanna make sure that if they coming out here, no problem in them coming out here, but it's gonna be on a level playing field. And you're gonna be, you're gonna have to adhere to the ordinance that we have here. Or you go to Villa Rica or go somewhere else. But it's ripe for these businesses coming in here, the hookah lounges, and they coming in saying they're a restaurant. They're not no restaurant, they're a club. Not only this place, but a lot of places coming in here is saying that they want to be a restaurant. They're not a restaurant, they're a club. They stay at over 2 o'clock, they playing music, they dancing, we can go into these places, they're not serving no food, they serving liquor, and they smoking the hookah. It's a club. So be true to what you're gonna be. If you're gonna wanna be a club, say you're gonna be a club. But if you're gonna be a club, here's your guidelines.
Right, and if a restaurant, you have to have and I think the point of sale is going to help us to be able to see if they're adhering to the 51% food versus alcohol sale. And if not, then you'll have a fine, and the fine is what we've already determined, $1,000, $2,000, or revocation.
Correct, and I wanted to add something to the fine. The rules are for the first, you have a minimum of 5-day suspension option, and then the second one, of course, goes up to a year. So I wanted to note that in addition to the fine, you have the option of suspending for some time. The cost associated with the suspending a license is grand when you're looking at the amount of money they're making throughout that time. So in addition to that, we might not necessarily receive those direct fees that would be something relative to their operation being closed for 5 days to a year.
Right.
But that is something that will be a penalty to them in addition to paying the actual fees.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, questions? I saw Councilman Adams first, and I'll come over here, Mayor Pro Tem.
Maybe I'm confused. Do we have an ordinance that allows a business to come to this community, into our city, and not be required to have 51% sale of food and be a club?
No, not.
We don't. The issue really is how they're operating and getting around it. So,
Exactly.
Correct. I mean.
So we're not thinking that we're not headed in that direction to allow that.
No, we're not allowing, no, what our attempt is to do is to say, hey, look, we currently have restaurants that are potentially skirting the line of the food and alcohol sales. We've already audited 2 that are over. They are staying open until 2 a.m., whichever time. So it's the reason that we're suggesting that, hey, if you stay open past 11 p.m., you need to have security. Those are typically the places that you're gonna need to, because that's already currently happening. The other is that we're suggesting is that we're going to be vigilant about the auditing process. Currently, right now, we don't require our restaurants to have a point-of-sale system. So when we're asking them for this audited information, it can come from in a variety of ways. But if they do have a point-of-sale system, as what was suggested is that you're going to see, finance is going to see on that report the true food to alcohol ratio. And that's what we're asking in the requirement of the ordinance, is that that's what they have to provide. And they're currently having to provide it now on a monthly basis.
Okay, you all know that I'm old, and I'm antique as far as computers are
antique.
concerned. A computer system that they're going to purchase, that they're going to provide a POS system to us for, can it not be manipulated to, as to whatever they want it to say, so that it shows more than 51% in food sales?
Well, they have to.
Come on.
If we require them to go through an auditing company who's gonna put themselves on the line, that would put their own company on the line, auditing company.
We can have, Karen, go ahead, if you can explain point of sale systems and how we can, I'm not saying that there's not a way to manipulate the system, but there are ways that we can ensure that manipulation is on a minimal level through the point of sale.
Well, let me just say before you do that, I believe where we may have gotten off base is in not doing those audits. I've never been involved in one. I know that every time one is mentioned or talked about, there's a big uproar from some of the businesses that don't want it. Okay, that's all that I know. So by us not doing it all this time, we may have dug ourselves a hole that I don't know that we can get out of.
We're currently asking for something that they're already providing. So this is not us necessarily going in, doing anything different, except requiring them to submit the information in a different format. So we're not going in their businesses like we were before, measuring alcohol bottles or things like that. We're using what they're already giving us, but it's going to be given in a different format. Karen, if you can explain that system.
Okay.
Yeah, just whenever I worked at Houston's, we had, every night they have a point of sale system that tells you, food sales, alcohol sales. And then in talking to my staff, they said these license owners currently all have point of sale systems as it is, and that they can run reports that give you the food that they sell versus the alcohol that they sell for the month. And also they have to report to the state. So we have those two that, but they definitely could try to skirt the system if they wanted to. But if they are, it would be another option that we've seen is, when researching some other cities' ordinances, is that they have CPAs sign off annually on the food alcohol ratios, because a lot of times the CPAs are the ones filing their sales and use tax forms, and then that can mean their license. It can mean going to jail if they prove fraudulent. So
correct. And the other thing to add to what Karen is saying, and Ms. Vicky reminded me as well, because she went to an alcohol training at GMA, they're required to present those audited statements to the state. So we're not asking them to present any other information that they're not required legally to provide, that are signed off and initialed. I'm pretty certain someone can manipulate that, but again, to Karen's point of view, if a CPA is signing off on that, somebody's license is bound by it.
But are we entitled to that report that they have to send to the state?
Well, our current ordinance says we can request any and all records. So a sales and use tax form, I would consider that to be any and all records.
I'm seeing hesitation in our chief's face where we're headed here.
I'm overriding the chief on that, Councilman Adams, and the reason I am is because if he is negating it is because it is a requirement from the state of Georgia, so it is bound with their license. So we're not asking for anything that they are not required to provide.
We're just extrapolating the information now so that we can see it.
For this, because I remember the time we used to go in Gibson and all these places with a ruler and try to schedule, see how much Crown Royal you
right, okay, I understand.
You see but this system is already there that they supposed to do to the state. We pick it back off of it and make these people be true, somewhat true to what they're supposed to do and hold them accountable. Because right now, it's just whatever they want to do. We go in now, we've been going to these places, and, that ratio is not going. We got video.
So it won't prevent you from still doing undercover work, Chief?
Oh, we're gonna continue that as long as I'm chief.
Okay. Mr. Dawson, I think, had something.
It may be a possibility that we can consider reevaluating the hours of operation for alcohol sales. the state sets limits on how many hours you can be open. It may be that you might want to consider, if we can do it, cutting off alcohol sales at 11:30 or 12 o'clock. Most restaurants aren't selling any alcohol much past 10 or 11 o'clock, whereas most bars sell the majority of their alcohol after 10 o'clock. So that may be a way.
But Joel, in all fairness, they're not open till 7 o'clock, so I don't think they're gonna be out of the limits as far as how many hours a day they can be open.
I mean, you can set it by the clock, it's not the number of
Okay,
hours.
you just mentioned the number of hours.
Yes, you
Forgot
can,
about you.
the state will let you be open, I think, till 2 o'clock, which is what we're doing. There's nothing, unless they've changed the state ordinance or state law, you can limit the hours of alcohol sale to less than that.
Yeah, no.
So that may be, so we'll evaluate that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that may be a simple way to solve some of the problems.
I didn't mean to put you and the chief on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh,
I see,
no,
I see
we're
that
good.
you're together, but I'm just
See
concerned.
you see my arms going over there?
I'm concerned for his concern for our community
Yes,
Lord,
sir.
I'm sorry.
in this regard.
Yes, sir.
No, but, no, we've been debating this, going back and forth, and, you know, it was final time that we bring something in front of the city manager, that, we bring something to you all, and she gave us that task, the city manager gave us the task. Because we see these places just hopping up, and every corner is just gonna get, you know, worse and worse if we don't put down, some ordinances and hold them to that as best we can, because they always gonna be trying to find a loophole, and then we gotta close that hole.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem did have a comment. I
Yeah, thank you,
apologize.
Madam Mayor. I'm also kind of confused about some of the language in here, too, and I'm trying to understand, you've got hookah and smoking considered a classification of a type of restaurant. Does that mean that if we're allowing a hookah lounge, we're also allowing indoor smoking? If it's under that category, is that?
So currently, your code states that.
I'm sorry?
And currently, your code states that. That's currently in the code. And for a cigar bar, for example, a cigar bar would be required to be internally, and not allowing for the next door business to be forced to inhale any smoke that is coming from the cigar bar, right? And so it allows for there to be a restaurant opportunity there as well for cigar bars.
But if there's a restaurant, does it not have to have a separate HVAC system, though?
So that's the part where I mentioned on Code 5, they have to meet that building code and mechanical ventilation requirements.
Okay. So, because I want to make sure everybody's clear, because, you know, smoking is not the same as hookah and vaping, because smoking creates atmospheric smoke, whereas hookah and vaping do not.
But cigars do.
And correct, yeah, cigars as well. So I just want to make sure that was clear. The other thing is, there's a reference to live entertainment, and then down below, you mentioned the 2,500 square feet. Is that only applied to the hookah and smoking section, classification of restaurants, or is that all restaurants have to have at least 2,500?
So that's the minimum that would be required for if there was a hookah and smoking atmosphere, because that's what our current code says for restaurants with hookah and smoking operations.
But not
as a minimum.
other restaurants, though?
No, that's a minimum, right, just for those particular styles with hookah
So
and.
you could, like a coffee shop could still have less than 2,500 and have a live entertainment?
Exactly. This is particularly for those who have the hookah and smoking opportunities.
Okay, I want to make sure, because that wasn't clear. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Mr.
You
Dodson?
might want to, and I don't know if this has been done, you need to also read the adult entertainment ordinance. It contains some restrictions concerning, I think, square footage and
So,
other things.
so we did, right.
Okay, adult entertainment as in a gentleman's club, or?
Right, so this is two separate things. Adult entertainment it's not live entertainment. As mentioned in my code, I know that in my memo, a lot of times.
It's live in many ways, yes.
She included on your summary report the definition.
Yes.
Your definitions.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So it's managed totally different than you would live entertainment.
Right. Madam Mayor, I think you have a colleague who has a question.
Yes, is it Councilman?
Well, I'm sorry, Councilman Miller, did you?
I did have one last question, because I put this question to our counselor, Mr. Dodson, earlier, does our alcohol ordinance specify the 50% ratio for all sales of alcohol, or is it only for those that sell spirituous liquors as well?
51%.
What I'm saying is, like, if a restaurant only sells beer and wine, does it still come under the 50%, or does it have to sell spirituous liquors to come under the 50%, 51%?
It's 51% alcohol, it's 51% of food over total sales. So 51% of food.
Right.
Over
Beer,
total sales.
What
wine,
I'm saying
and
is-
spirituous liquors.
But if a restaurant doesn't sell spirituous liquors, is it still required to make the 51%?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
just wanted to make sure that
Yes,
was,
sir.
you're sure of that?
Councilman Watts, did you have a question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Since we veered off a moment ago, adult entertainment, and the definition of that, one of the question I have, and this may be splitting hairs, but let me find it. It's in the paragraph under where it says background. It says this revision does not include the allowance of adult entertainment as defined in the city's code of ordinances, section 14, so on and so forth. And then you go down to the definitions, and the last it defines what adult entertainment is, but the last sentence is what I was wondering about. So what I just read says there will not be any adult entertainment allowed, but this sentence says no adult entertainment establishment shall conduct business in the city without first having obtained a license as set forth in this article. So it sounds conflicting to me.
So the reason the definitions were included is for clarity, so that it could be understood. That is exactly how it's written inside of the code. The first sentence identifies the information that I was looking to give to you to identify what is meant by adult entertainment. And of course, that would be the adult bookstores, the adult theaters. That would be things of adult live dancing, things of that nature. That is not what this particular discussion of tonight with the alcohol for the restaurants of live entertainment. I want to be very clear, because sometimes when live entertainment is mentioned, individuals think that's the live entertainment of adult dancing, and it's not. This is just strictly entertainment as it pertains to music.
Well, I had a feeling that that was the case. It's just that that sentence kind of leads you to believe that,
The door is
potentially
open
down
for-
the road,
Yeah, for Magic City. I mean, we could.
why can't that last sentence be left out?
Well, I want to make it clear that what you're looking at is not, it's not a draft of the ordinance. It's just notes, it's a memorandum.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is not a draft of the ordinance.
This is not a part of the the conversation we're having tonight. This is me just clarifying what the code defines adult entertainment as, which is totally separate from restaurants with live entertainment.
Well, the council doesn't want adult entertainment to have a sliver of adult entertainment to come in. I mean, I haven't polled them, but I'm just hearing.
Well,
So I'll just-
everybody wants it, but technically it is legal.
First Amendment.
What
Okay.
you can do is prevent adult entertainment clubs from selling alcohol. And most adult entertainment clubs cannot function without alcohol sales, which is why you haven't seen a great many of them being proliferated. Now, some areas do not. Some local governments allow alcohol in adult entertainment. They're usually located near expressways.
Okay.
That's and we have other requirements for adult entertainment, but you can't really ban adult entertainment in any form. You can regulate it, but you cannot simply say you can't have one.
Okay, well, I apologize. I didn't mean to discriminate.
Well, no,
We stick to the law.
Right, it's just connected with that First Amendment right. So we
Okay.
have to kind of allow it to be included.
So, Madam Mayor, just for point of clarity for staff, as was mentioned, most of these are just notes and summary based on what we've heard and received and how we feel that there could be some clarity in the ordinance. The only thing that's different that I've heard from you all for direction is that there's a potential that you may want to limit the hours of service of alcohol. Do you want to, if you do want to do that, then I think provision number 4, where we're asking for there to be additional police security or written plan, probably would not be necessary. if you want to, or do you want to try to look at number 4 first before you limit the service hours?
Didn't we vote on the time for alcohol sales in the city of Douglasville, like maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the will of the people. And did we have a referendum or something as well? I'm trying to remember.
It wasn't unanimous. So we can allow you guys to think about that. The other thing, and I'll ask legal to chime in on this, is that I don't think we have clarity on, is the punitive portion. So we have the fine, we have the revocation, but who ultimately makes that decision? Is that going to be the city council? Or do you want to shift that in some way to municipal court or a combination thereof? Legal may have some recommendation. Tell you the judge mentioned that if it ends up in municipal court, the request would be that it be a misdemeanor fine attached to it. That way, in his mind, there is some teeth if he is the final say. So that's food for thought. But it may be that you see that the monetary fine and the revocation is enough.
I think Mr. Dodson.
Well, after we've done a little more research, we can make a recommendation about either venue has certain drawbacks. And there's a large body of case law concerning how much of a fine you can levy in relation to a criminal offense. So, at any rate, the real teeth in all this isn't the fine. The real teeth is saying, fine, I'm going to revoke your license. The fine is not the, it's not the goal that you're trying to get. You're trying to get a club that's either in compliance or out of business. So, you know, the amount of the fine is to some degree irrelevant as long as they're going to comply with the ordinance.
Yes, sir. I did have a, thank you, Mr. Dodson. I had a question, Chief, and Thunder Zone, it isn't a bar or a club, but I know they sell, is it beyond midnight that they can still sell beer and wine?
Sell beer and wine in there. I'll talk to you later about that.
I mean, I know we've had a lot of situations there, so limiting the time, and as the Attorney Dodson has said, I know in Midtown and Buckhead and all that, it's 2 o'clock. And at one point, it was 4 o'clock. So I don't know if we can pull back on the time. I mean, of course, it's for us to discuss and think about, but I know we did have some information. We passed something, and maybe number 4 with those criteria with security and police department and cameras and all that will help us. But outside of restaurants and cigar lounge and all of that, Thunder Zone and other places serve beer and wine as well. And families are there, and they're beyond midnight. Yes, sir. Councilmember Miller, Nicole, did you have something? I saw your face.
I don't know, maybe. First, what time do we cut off sales for alcohol at this point in Douglasville? 2 o'clock? Okay. And I don't know, I know in my head that seems really late, but we're all different. I really appreciate the definitions and the clarity on all of this. I know that you guys have put a lot of work into it, and I think I'm really just, I'm in agreement with giving this a shot with, as long as the chief is in agreement with their plan for security. I feel like we have a lot going on right now in our downtown area, and once we open the amphitheater, what's going to happen if then we say, oh, well, we're going to have this concert that's going on until this time, so now we have to go back and change the ordinance again, and then I just feel like we're a wobbly council. So I would like to maybe look at, to make sure that the chief is on board with, you know, their security plans and how we're going to handle that, and who's going to handle the issues if they arise. But I'm also curious because I know that we have something coming up on the agenda for our next round. So does that mean that we have to get this in place before our next round of meetings?
Well, the person put the application in before we are coming up with these requirements.
That's really a question for legal. We talked about that. I talked about that you know, with Miranda, the question is, and I don't know you, Miranda, if you or Joel know that, can you apply special stipulations to an alcohol license?
Well, we've never done that in the past. And you know, one of the issues you run into, there's a lot of zoning law on this issue. Under zoning law, once you've made your application, the local government is not free to change the ordinance to prohibit that. It is my opinion that line of reasoning will be applied by pretty much any court for any other application. So to answer your question, I would have to see what the special stipulations are proposed to be.
Right.
You can change your hours of operation, I mean, by ordinance, you know, you're not grandfathered on hours of operation. So, I mean, the fact that you had a 2 o'clock when you gave a guy a license doesn't mean he's guaranteed to serve till 2 o'clock as long as he's got it.
Right. I think what helps you maybe in this case, if you're able to, even if an applicant that you were concerned about gets passed, I think the thing that helps you is that if you have a system, a better monitoring system that we're proposing. Because at that point, if the chief does determine, or through finance is determined that the individual is violating, then you have those punitive items that are in place that you didn't have before. So.
Let me ask Shayla, you mentioned a special use permit. Okay, is that in the code now?
For the restaurants with hookah and smoking, yes.
Okay. Did this particular applicant apply for a special land use permit?
No, sir.
Well, how you gonna give him a license? If he has to have a special land use permit to have a hookah lounge, and he hadn't applied for a special land use permit.
Has he, have they indicated that they're a hookah lounge? So they may say, they probably have applied that they're a restaurant. I think the only reason we know that they're hookah is because they've indicated what their sales are gonna be.
Well, that may require some further inquiry. I mean, quite frankly, it's going to, if it takes a special land use permit to do that, and they can't allow hookah smoking in place, which apparently is an issue, so. And what, the other thing about a special land use permit, now, I don't know, this is a zoning issue too.
Yeah.
If you're going to have, and you've already got a couple of restaurants, you may have to start thinking about where are customers going to be? How many square footage do you have to have? Where's your parking? You see what I mean? You're in a situation where if you're going to have a restaurant that's 2,000 square feet, and you've got 300 folks standing out on the sidewalk that want to get in. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure that the downtown area is really geared up for what the chief would classify as a club.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that.
Shopping center maybe, but I just don't see, you know, a club operating successfully in downtown without adversely affecting the other businesses that are already there.
Right. The other thing I think that we have to look into to present to you is that, you know, when it comes to hookah, there are restaurants that I know that are selling hookah that don't have a special land use permit. So, you know, what is the mechanism to require a request at that point that, hey, you may have opened as a restaurant, now you've added another amenity or menu item, which happens to be hookah, that is required under our ordinance as a special land use permit, and then what is the percentage of hookah sales that makes you a hookah lounge? So it's those things that we have to look into as well when it comes to hookah.
I don't know that there's a percentage set forth in the code as it stands now, but if someone's, if they're selling hookah and they're not in a special land use and don't have one, you can write them a letter and say, you know, these sales are prohibited unless you're properly zoned. And
the one thing I will mention too is by us receiving that point of sale system, I believe, Karen, we see hookah, we can probably see hookah on that item. So that's something that they're submitting that information to us already. So we know what they're purchasing and we know what they're selling. So we can send that in a notice, letting them know they need to go through zoning.
I know we're belaboring this, but it just brings up more questions to me than if they have come in as a restaurant and they're now selling hookah, are those sales being included as food sales in order to get their food sales percentages up?
No, and I actually thought about that too, because I was like, oh, is this going to mess up their percentages? But when you read the ordinance, it's 51% food over total sales. So you just look at total sales and food, and that's it. And so that hookah is included in the total sales.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's food,
So actually, it
alcohol,
would cause
and
them to their food to have to go up in order to keep it at 51%.
Correct.
Chief is telling us that's not happening. So I'm just thankful that, first of all, we have someone that is on top of it. And secondly, that hopefully we can work through a way to not have the same issue some of our other communities have had when this comes in.
Thank you. We have any other questions for our finance director? I know it was a three-prong approach, and now did you have another question? Oh, the chief, the third one was security.
Yes, I was just saying, piggybacking off what the councilman said about, these places coming in as restaurants and they're coming in and selling hookah, just about, a lot of these places that's coming in now, once you go in there, it's liquor and hookah. You know, especially after, you mentioned times. After about 10 o'clock, nothing but a club. And we looking at getting the fire marshal to come in because a lot of them just packed. And it's costing us, to have to run over to certain places. And so that's why we all got together under the city manager telling us to get something in writing to bring to you. That's why we're here today.
Okay.
Because we just want to make sure that all of us put our heads together and come up with something that when they come to Douglasville, we're going to have some ordinances and we're going to hold them to.
Yes, sir. And I know that you and I have spoken, and you were saying it's kind of like a bait and switch, that we had some restaurants recently come in, said they were restaurants, and now they've turned into more of a club atmosphere after a certain time frame. So we're trying to just, and some of those concerns, some of that reality has gone into the concern of safety and breaking the law. I mean, it's stuff that we have, fights and all kinds of things that happen. So I know we're trying as a community to get a handle on all those things.
I put out a meeting to all of these restaurants, and I think 3 showed up. And, we have the information as it relates to how many calls for service we've been out there, how many fights, all this kind of thing, how many drug-related criminal activity. And we had about 3, so we're gonna try to go back again, but we're gonna go back after we finish what we're doing.
Well, they're not voluntarily going to come, Chief. It's like when my kids get in trouble and I say, who broke the lamp? All 3 of them say, I didn't do it.
Well, we
got to figure it out.
We give them the caveat to come on their own, but once we finish doing what we're doing, they're going to come to you.
Okay.
How many, just if you know, how many companies selling alcohol by the drink have outside security cameras?
About 3 of them, I know they have outside security. One of them does a pretty good job, but another one, they don't start, security don't come in till about 10 or 11 o'clock. So by that time, everybody's whether they doing illegal activity and they're not searching.
Okay. Councilman Watts.
First of all, thank you, staff, for all your efforts on this. And, I mean, as a citizen of Douglasville, I want the businesses that want to come to us, want to follow our ordinances, our laws, and if they don't, then don't come here. And so I know that Councilman Davis the last round asked that specific question, if they were aware, and I've heard it asked before about the 5149. And if we've got 5149 on the books, I'm all for enforcing it. I'm also willing to look at times as Joel said, we might want to revisit times. And as Councilwoman Miller pointed out, a lot of things are coming to the city. I know that, once we get an amphitheater, there's going to be businesses want to come, and I don't like the idea of businesses coming here under one pretense and then sliding in another direction. So whatever we can do to get to where people are following the rules, I'm all for it.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. Any other comments?
Yep, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel kind of bad to say this. I know those of you that really know me know I kind of stay in my bubble a lot, and I eat at the restaurants I can pretty much walk to. And I know a couple of those are definitely family restaurants, but at a certain time, the kitchen closes, and then they are only serving drinks. So if we were to put something in the UDO that said that, after a certain time, whether that be 10, 11 o'clock, if your kitchen is closed and you're still serving, then you have to have a Douglasville off-duty police officer that you're paying. But if that were the case, would we have enough officers to fill those jobs?
Well, I would just add this too. What we're specifically talking about in this point is really just those that also do hookah and smoking. We're not talking about people who now you have your bar open. So it's completely different.
It wouldn't be O'Charlie's or anything.
Yeah, if you wanted to expand it to include restaurants that don't serve hookah, we can do that. But right now, we were just looking at those with the smoking, the vaping, the cigar bars, those. I just wanted to make certain you knew that before the chief answered.
I want to clarify that the ordinance does not specify hookah or smoking as a special use. It's permitted use in general commercial and also in the CBD, so.
Correct, we were just talking about
Okay.
what we were recommending today.
But
Did your question get answered?
to your question, as long as they're certified public safety officers, right now, we don't go on the inside. We strictly on the outside.
Okay.
And that's what we will maintain. We maintain that they get the security, and we would look at what are their training? How are they training their people? But at this point, we haven't, I haven't never allowed an officer to go in because you start looking at some liability issues, I think, people going out getting drunk, they're walking out, and then the officer there. But outside the door, that's what we usually, the ones that hire us, we working outside.
Okay.
In the parking lot.
Outside.
Are you talking about only when the officers are on duty, they cannot go inside? But if they're off duty, off-duty, you can't either?
When they work an off-duty job at a restaurant, lounge like that, no.
They still can't
Parking
go in?
lot.
Okay.
Except for
They
when they're
have-
undercover with the camera that we,
Right.
Okay.
We go in undercover.
okay. Comments? Councilman Estes, you have anything? Mayor Pro Tem, anything else? Okay, well, we have to get an understanding. So, again, to reiterate what other council members have said, thank you so much, City Manager, Ms. Shayla Reed, Ms. Karen, and Chief. We appreciate it, and our attorneys. Thank you so much for trying to help us get our arms around this issue, and we are going to be successful and help this community to be safe for everyone and for us to be enjoying ourselves. So we will move on, and we look forward to any recommendations. You all have a time frame, or are you just going to come back to us?
Mainly what we need to work on some of those questions with legal. So
Okay.
once legal has prepared that information for you all to discuss. Now, I will state, what we do have to get clarification on between now and the next meeting is the special land use permit with Crew Lounge.
Yes.
So I'll just ask Ms. Reed to just send you notification of that via email to verify what they may need, since they themselves have indicated that they will be selling hookah. So we'll get that for you between now and then, so that you'll be prepared to take action one way or the other on the 14th and 18th.
Yeah, the 14th and 18th. Now, I did see a sign when we left the parade yesterday, or somewhere, it had open. Is it open?
I'm not certain if it's open, but I do know that they have their signage on their building, but I'm
Oh,
not
they
quite
just have,
certain.
they're just getting geared up? Okay, just wondering. All right, thank you so much, City Manager. We have anything else from council to bring before the body tonight? I will ask Mr. Roberts, I'm glad he's still here. I did get a question from a citizen that texted me about pickup for trash and the cycle. I know when it's a holiday, does everything move to the next day, or is it the same day that it's picked up, or how does that work?
So, like the July 4th yesterday?
Yes, sir.
It's a Monday, Tuesday route, but it'll take us through Wednesday to get it all caught back up.
Okay, so if the person's pickup is Tuesday, it'll get picked up Tuesday or Wednesday, or?
Probably got picked up today, but or they could get picked up tomorrow.
Okay. So it doesn't change, the holidays doesn't change anything?
Yes, and being short-staffed, so when we don't work on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
we try to pick up the Monday and Tuesday route on Tuesday.
Oh, I see, I
If
apologize.
we're full staff, if we get full staff, that is completely doable.
Okay,
But then 15 to 20 short, it'll take us the rest of the week to get caught up.
okay, so if the holiday's on another day, you just combine that next,
It's the same concept on every holiday.
so Thanksgiving is a Thursday,
So
and,
it's on Thursday and Friday, so we're picking up before the holiday,
okay.
and we just have to get everything the next week.
Ooh, that's kind of confusing, but in other words,
Thanksgiving is literally our worst.
oh, wow.
It's always been the worst.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago it was the worst. Because it's impossible to pick the garbage up before it's been generated.
Yes, sir, exactly, because it's going to be after you have Thanksgiving dinner. And now the other thing that someone asked me, we had a lot of trees that went down during the storm last week in Douglas County. Can they cut the trees up and put them at the curb, or how does that, or do they have to get a tree removal company, or what do we do?
Well, generally speaking, we'll get them if they get them cut into the right lanes, but that's usually not too much of a problem. If it gets to the
Okay.
curb, we get it picked up.
Okay,
So if it's somebody, it's just 1 or 2 people, just tell them to call the office.
yes, sir, but don't put the whole branch out there. If like lightning struck the branch.
If they're out there too big, it may be a month before we get to it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I appreciate you always being willing to help. All righty. So now we have come to comments from citizens and delegates, and if you'd like to address us, you're welcome to come forward, and you have 5 minutes to address myself and council. So we have Ms. Welch.
My name is Cindy Welch. I
Yes, ma'am.
reside at 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville. I have 2 comments. Timber Ridge, right off of Chapel Hill, like between Shane's and Quick Trip, is that city, that part? I'm trying to get someone, and I don't know if you need to or the county, someone needs to restripe that because you can't tell the turn lanes at all.
I think
And
it's,
people are coming at you when you're going one way, and they think they can be in that lane, and it's not their lane.
well, I know Timber Ridge, the trash cans are county. So,
But,
Mr.
you know,
Roberts.
you do the Shane's Park
Yes.
Shopping Center and all that, and Quick Trip.
Shane's and the businesses on the left and right, you're in the county.
Okay, well, this is before, I mean, this is right there at the businesses.
At the
Right when you
corner,
turn off at Chapel Hill.
on
And
McDonald's.
it's where
and all
you're
that.
either going to turn into Quick Trip or you're going to turn into Shane's, and you can't tell anything because the striping is gone. And it really is causing a hazard, because I've had somebody come at me and it's like, wait, I'm in the turn lane, and they think it's their turn lane to turn the other way. So just, you know,
Mr.
I don't know if
Roberts is-
you were aware, so.
No,
But I
ma'am.
do want to thank you for last night. Those fireworks were unbelievable. I mean, I was just amazed. The parade was great,
Yes.
but boy, those fireworks just put the icing on the cake. So I wanted to give you a thanks for that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Ms. Welch. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? If not, we don't have any other business to come before council tonight. This meeting is adjourned.